Good morning. My name is Lisa Jennings. We are glad you have joined us today in person or virtually at the First Unitarian Church of Memphis, also known as the Church of the River. Today we come together in religious community to affirm our covenant, combining freedom of individual belief with the support for one another's journeys through life. I have a few announcements today. If you are interested in an assistive listening device or large print hymnals, please request one from our ushers or staff. They're in the back waving their hands. So there are these types of assists available to you if you would like that. So please check in with them. We do have church parking spaces, obviously, particularly for young families or those who are less mobile. Just for your information, there's additional parking in the Channel 3 lot on Sundays between 9 and 3 p.m. So for those of us physically able, please consider using those spaces. Nursery and preschool rooms are open for children 4 and younger from 9:30 to 12:30. Children must be registered, and children in the sanctuary are always welcome. But if they prefer a more comfortable location, there is, I think, the Livestream church service in the Mississippi River Room, which is across the courtyard. Ages 5 through 12 may follow their teachers out for planned activities after the time for all ages. Take note of the QR code on the sign at the back of the sanctuary. It will lead you directly to links for the order of service, ways to donate to the church. There's also the cards that are available for the summer series. Church offices will be closed Tuesday in observance of the Independence Day holiday. Team Upstream will meet Friday, July 7th at noon. The Soup Kitchen meets at St. John's Methodist Church on Saturday, July 8th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. The Girl Scout troop that's been meeting at the church every month this past year will be losing their current leadership in August and are in need of a leader. If you are interested, please contact Rachel Rice or Debbie Heath in our office. We invite first-time visitors to fill out a visitor's form on the website or complete a visitor's card. If you are interested in joining our church, please see an usher or staff member and they will assist you. So there are all kinds of activities and other information which you can check on our website or email info@churchoftheriver.org. We have a weekly mailing list that you may subscribe to, and of course follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So with no more announcements, did I miss anything? Does anyone have any announcements today? We will begin our worship service. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and with sorrows, gifts, and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Our first hymn, without the choir today. So choir members, I see you're here, so please help us out. Number 360, 360, Here We Have Gathered. Please stand as you're able. time we'll have time for all ages, so our young people and those young of heart are invited to join us at the front of the sanctuary. So I thought it was ironic that I walked to the sanctuary and saw all these tissue boxes sitting in the pews. So maybe it's a sign. So I'm going to give you a tissue box, and these tissue boxes sign. You here? Yes. Okay. So this isn't a magic show, but it's kind of like, wasn't it interesting? We're talking about the church being like a tissue box. So watch what happens when I pull a tissue out of this box. And you can do that too. Whoa. So what happens? There's another tissue, right? The tissue comes out of the box. And so did this tissue that came out pull up the next tissue? So what happens? When you pull this tissue, did it pull up the next tissue? Or, you can feel down the tissue box, there's other tissues that are holding up that tissue, right? So you've got one tissue pulling a tissue up, and then you've got tissues below here that are keeping the tissues holding up and are supporting this tissue. So the answer is both. So the tissue that came out did pull up the next tissue, right? But the tissues that are in the box are holding this one up, right? So maybe our church should be like a tissue box, right? Because when people need help, whether they need help physically, maybe help walking down the stairs, or getting somewhere, or maybe they're sad, or maybe they're just thinking about what's the meaning of life, right? Or what's it as I move forward day to day? So we can pull them up, right? We're the people in the church that can pull up people when they need help. And at the same time, other members of the church can pull them up. And so try to get people from falling back or falling into despair. So they do both things. So the church is like a box of tissues, and when there's a job to do in the church, several people can work together. So if we all have tissues, what if we all pull out tissues? Helping each other, right? When we pull a tissue out, you're going to help somebody by pulling the tissue out, uplifting them, and there's others of us that are holding them. And so when a lot of people work together pulling tissues, we can do a lot of things together, right? How many tissues? And so when someone is hurting or grieving, I see you're putting the tissue on your head or at your cheek. It's soft, right? So we can be as soft as a tissue. So let's be tissue used, right? And pull up or lift up your family, your friends, or members of this church. So now let's all give a blessing to our children and the young of heart. You are beloved. You are beloved. You are sacred. You are sacred. You are powerful. You are powerful. Go in peace. If you'd like to sing along, it's hymn number 413, 413. So our first reading is found in our hymnal, number 444, and I thought we might do something different today and do a responsive reading. So if you would go to 444, the congregation will read the italicized part, and I'll read the first part. So it's entitled, This House, number 444. This house is for the ingathering of nature and human nature.
It is a house for images, pain and trouble, and open room for the encouragement of our struggle.
It is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every person.
It offers a platform for the free voice, for declaring both in times of security and danger, the full and undivided conflict of opinion.
It is a house of truth-seeking where scientists encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searches.
It is a house of art, adorning celebrations with melodies and anchors.
This house of prophecy, outrunning times past and times present in visions of growth and progress.
This house is a cradle for our dreams, a workshop of our common endeavor.
Our second reading is a poem by Mary Oliver entitled Wild Geese. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body loves what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. It calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. Now it's time to have that moment of prayer or meditation, and also a time for moments of silence so that we can rest. We can look out and see the river go by and enjoy what's before us. So the spoken prayer comes from the Shabbat book from Temple Israel. Where has this week vanished? Will I recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what may drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Sunday, abide. Help us to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let us learn to pause, if only for this day. Let us find peace on this day. Let us enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, abide. Amen. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit and to support this church in its many ministries. Your generous donations may be made in the black box on the wall over the credenza, scanning the QR code on the sign at the welcome table, via text 901-350-2686, or on the website. And in addition, we will also pass our offering bags to one another. The gifts of the congregation will now be most gratefully given and received. Well, it seemed quite fun. Maybe we should do that again. So today I would like to talk about beyond ourselves. And that can have a lot of meanings, but perhaps you'll follow along in terms of my theme today. So as would be obvious to us as you use any worship service, people have diverse beliefs. And these diverse beliefs and the encouragement, the real encouragement to evolve our beliefs are what make our church community so compelling to most persons who walk through our doors. Not everyone, of course. The challenge of a single church service is to be not only multivocal, but polyvocal, to invite full participation and to join together regardless of our diversity as a community of faith. A church home is like no other. It's not a club. It's not an entertainment venue. It is a unique gathering of people in a sacred space who want to listen to that still, small voice within each of us. And at the same time, acknowledge that there are many, many voices within these walls. Theologically, liturgy needs to include many perceptions of God, or whatever word we choose to describe God. The world as we experience it, the spirit of life, and as I offer today, that which is beyond ourselves or perhaps difficult to explain. These perceptions of God include the transcendent, the naturalist, the mysterious, the partner, all evolving within us. We have questions, we have doubts, we have celebrations, and we have despair. During prayer or meditation, we must also be open to hear that small voice that may call upon us and to avoid narcissism by realizing that our own voice is here amidst others. To hear the call, so to speak, is to realize that our prayer is just not an outpouring of self, but is an opening of our senses to what is beyond ourselves, so that many voices can be heard here today. And we as a community can put aside our differences and come together. An ethic of inclusivity means awareness of and an obligation to others rather than solely self-fulfillment. Awareness of and an obligation to others rather than solely self-fulfillment. We are here to serve and to minister to one another with a heavy emphasis on ethical action and to desire rightly. We should aspire to be like a box of tissues, regardless of our differences. And when one of us needs to be helped physically, emotionally, or spiritually, we can pull them up. And at the same time, others of us can hold them up so that they do not fall back. We individuals matter deeply. We have emotional and spiritual needs and hope that we are not invisible. We do want to be seen. The security of a true community can be a stepping stone to higher values that are so precious and dear to our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our denomination was founded on the platform of democracy, and as we celebrate July 4th, we as Unitarians can celebrate our religious roots, the free church, church polity. Reverend David Rankin, former minister of Fountain Street Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, shared some beliefs on the nature of democratic process and the foundation of our UU movement, and I quote, "We as UUs believe in the necessity of democratic process. Our records are open to scrutiny. Elections are open to members, and ideas are open to constructive criticism so that the congregation might govern themselves and be a network of mutual support. As such, our Unitarian Universalist Association serves the congregations. It provides services as we need and as we request. And unlike some denominations, the UUA does not dictate or direct us in how we do church. So our bylaws serve to guide us. Our congregation serves to guide us, and have entrusted the Board of Trustees to move forward in governance and in practices that affect our church. As we approach a new fall, I know it's really hot today. It doesn't feel like fall, but fall's almost a beginning for us, even though we have now church services year-round. For those of you who were not part of the congregation years ago, we actually had summer vacation. But thankfully, we continue to gather in the summer for services. But I think as we approach this fall, we seem ready to reaffirm Rankin's charge, as ready as we will ever be to embrace our community once again, after COVID, after post-COVID, and after challenging and difficult words that have been said to one another. The world can no longer wait on us. We need to step forward on the platform of democratic process and not allow the past to lead to inactivity or a fear of censure or reprisal. Regarding our church, we invite you. We need your participation right here, right now. Come, partake, speak, listen, and begin once again to love boldly. When there is a need in this church, several people can work together. As we saw in our object lesson or our lesson for all ages, we can pull out the tissues, pulling several at one time, and make quick work of it. And when someone is hurting or grieving, we may be required to be as soft as a tissue, maybe even those ones with the soothing lotion that we use when we have that red nose, that bad cold. And we believe in the power of love that seeks to help and heal, and never to hurt or destroy. In today's reading, Mary Oliver tells us that we do not have to be good. I doubt if any of us have heard this very often, especially in church. Hearing these words today will not send us off in a tear of wrongdoing, at least I hope not, but may be in some way liberating to hear. Don't let that gnawing sense that you aren't doing enough go, at least for now. It's waiting on you when you leave this sanctuary. Mary Oliver says, you do not have to walk on your knees 100 miles through the desert repenting. She goes on to say, tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Our being good does not allow us the room to tell each other about our despair, when in reality, telling one another about how we feel about our despair can open up the door to acceptance and to love. We need to have more time to do that with one another. Because as the poem goes, meanwhile the world goes on. It does not stop for us to be better, to get better, to do better. She says, meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes. Meanwhile, the world goes on. And meanwhile, the geese are heading home again. And so Mary Oliver draws our vision upward or beyond ourselves and announces our place in the family of things. Now, the imagery is really terrific here. And so one day a flock of geese passed by overhead in that classical Class V formation. And a mom and her daughter were outside, and the mom asked, have you ever noticed when geese fly in a V, there's always one side longer than the other? And the daughter looked up and she said, yes, why is that? And mom says, because there's more geese on that side. Then the daughter claims, boy, they're making such noise, but I don't understand them. What are they saying? And the mom says, well, you can't understand them because they are speaking their favorite language, Portuguese. Sorry. There are a lot of geese jokes on the Google, by the way. But, getting back to the topic, we're trying to imagine our place, right, today? What's beyond ourselves? How do we share our despair? How do we support one another? How do we pull each other up? And so, as Annie Dillard so aptly described, we are in the family of things, and therefore we are also faced with the reality of the world. This past week was the one-year anniversary of the overturn of Roe versus Wade. On a 6-3 vote, 5 of them men, the right of every woman to make decisions about their body was overturned. This decision removed the secular legal protection for women to terminate pregnancy, even the termination of a possible life-threatening pregnancy. Today, millions of women must have the money or the right address in the right state to receive the care they choose. This matter is not a religious issue, but a secular right. It is okay to have different religious beliefs on this matter, and some may consider a fetus or an embryo equal to the life of the mother or the well-being of the family. However, my own thinking is that it is not okay to impose a religious belief on a secular question. Overturning the right of women to choose did not elevate the community, nor did it enlarge the welfare of women and families. Furthermore, the Dobbs decision emboldened conservative state legislature to pass more legislation or bills targeting other vulnerable groups, such as the LGBTQ community, some of which are now tied up in court by lawsuits filed by the ACLU and our local Friends of George's. Furthermore, a law defining sex as a person's gender assigned at birth and restricting a person from changing their gender on their driver's license is one of the many bills targeted to the LGBTQ plus community. And this is now or soon to be in effect. These bills are in contrary to our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of each human being and that all people have an equal claim to life, liberty, and justice when no harm or malice is directed to others, regardless of whether privileged, seen or unseen, noticed or unnoticed, or underserved. The place in the family of things is connected in freedom and should allow each and every one of us to rest in the grace of the world and be free. As we approach the end of today's service, let us embrace this church. Let us embrace this community as a sanctuary to reach deep and to reach out beyond ourselves and to become what we would like to be, and even more importantly, who we must be. In our responsive reading today entitled, "This House," we affirm that our church, this house, this sanctuary, this sacred place, is a cradle for our dreams and the workshop of our common endeavor. Reflection, meditation, or prayer are not means to escape realities. They are our segue to face up to realities, to understand them, to deal with them, to grow, to forgive, encourage, strength, and in faith, so that we continue our journey, even if a step at a time. So may it be. Amen. Our second hymn is a familiar one for most of us, number 298, 298, "Wake Now My Senses." Let's just sing the first three verses.
Amen.